company Chipotle today. We've been following this and trading this for several weeks now. We've been following the technicals pretty closely. Andrew has been doing that and analyzing the technicals on the way along the way, and we've been taking several trades on different option strategies and kind of comparing them. So Chipotle is on a really big rally right now, and we kind of we caught one of the bottoms. Andrew basically called the bottom a week ago and got into a trade, and we're reviewing that trade now, and how he did and what he's gonna do now, and we'll take a look at some kind of some ways we can also trade it in the future. So Andrew, go ahead. You can talk about what you did here.
Sure. Hey, Mike, how's it going? I would take a look at, I think a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we looked, I did one trade in Chipotle here, and that was a lift off of 13, and I was looking for the 34 or a touch the channel, and when I got up to the channel, I got out, and I think we got like a 20-30% on some of those moves, and one of them was actually an 80, depending on the option you bought. So then I was waiting. Market came back down again, and if we look at some viewers were to go to last Monday when I was talking about this, we were just coming down into here, and I was looking for another lift. This being an ABC with potentially a whole another lift, similar to what we're seeing here. We ended up getting that. I got in. If you take a look at my trader mob count, I got in at right near the bottom as it touched this channel, and that was my entry. It took longer to get going than I expected. I was hoping for a nice quick pop, but it took 2 or 3 days to get going.
Well, it just took 2 days, and then all of a sudden it took off.
yeah, it took 2 days to get going, and then it did take off. As it broke up, there was other opportunities. As it broke through the 34, would have been another good opportunity for anybody to get in, expecting a lift. I was expecting a lift to the top of this channel up here. As well as you can see, there's a Bollinger Band. They have this blue zone that was in here. We also had this coming down here, the top Bollinger Band. So there was a lot going on here that I was expecting some sort of resistance, and that's where I got out on Monday. Yesterday, Tuesday. When yesterday about 10 o'clock in the morning, I did that because we hit our targets. We got to where I thought we would get initially, and this, to me, everything else was going to be gravy. It could happen, but I wasn't sure. There was also just as much opportunity for here in the market to stop and do a pullback and test the 34 before lifting and going on again. I wasn't really sure, but this trade here that I did do, it was a weak trade, and I ended up on the option side. If we take a look, this is just what I pulled from the trader mob trades that I made, and I'll show those for sure. I just want to show them big here so you can see them. That I got in at 15, out at 45 on one of those, and that was.
So just to be clear, Andrew. So just to be clear, you're pulling these transactions off trader mob.
I'll go right there right now. I'll show you what they are. The issue is that they're a little bit smaller on here. This is my. Let me go to where are the trades. Sorry.
Just go to your portfolio. Yeah, option versus stock. Closed. So click on the trade.
And then so if I go on my transactions list here, you can see there's a whole transaction. So I just copied and pasted some of these out so we can see them a little bit better.
So scroll up a little bit, and up to the top. So I want to show them at the end there. So if you look at this chart here, so this is the Chipotle, obviously the chart of Chipotle, and overlaid on top of it is his transactions that he made on TraderMob. So you can see that I think T2.
This is right here. Yep.
T2. If you flip over to your tab over to your chart. Let's take a look at the chart. So T2 open right here. I can also hover my T2 open right here. Now flip back over.
It's the same as this one down here.
Is right here. This thing right here at what is it? February 8th. So Andrew came up with that bottom. He picked the bottom basically at T2 based on his analysis, and we have a video on that last week that he explained why he wanted to go long on Chipotle, and he went long literally. I mean, the timing was impeccable. It was basically at the bottom right around 440, and you can see he caught that move all the way up to 480, which was I think where his other target was. And this move right here was, I mean, on the chart, you can see it was just straight up. And now we're looking at it. So right here, TraderMob shows you that if you ever want to show a trade and have proof of what you did and when you did it, TraderMob will give you that, because now you can see back exactly when Andrew made his trade and then when he got out. And if you scroll down to the transaction list, what Andrew was talking about earlier is the transaction list is basically a kind of like table format, spreadsheet format of basically exactly what he did and when. And you can see, let's see, what was the one it's 42 now. So let's look at
So I
those.
did three different trades on that. I bought one at the money, one just out of the money, and one really far out of the money. And all three did really well. When I got out at this up at 480, we're seeing and that's why I went to this. These are just copied and pasted over so you can see them a little bit better.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I got into the one at 15, got out at 45, and that was the one that's at the 437, and the market was about at that at the time. So it was right at the money.
For at the money, that was at the money for a 200% gain.
Yeah, about that $3,000, 200% gain on a $1,500 investment. And then the second one, this one was the 450 call, so it was slightly out of the money because the market was around, as we saw, down here around the 440, just below 440 when I got in it. So this is a 450 call, so it was just slightly out of the money.
Slightly out of the money.
And that was $9.30, and I got returned it at $33.75. So that was a 260% return.
So slightly better than the at the money, which is expected because the further out of the money he goes, the more risk he's taking. Basically the probabilities are less that it'll get there, so he should be rewarded if the move was really big, and he was. So 263% on that one, and then now the out of the money call.
Yeah, I got one really out of the money. It was a 470 call, and that was only 370, and I was able to sell that at 1775. So that was even though it doesn't sound as much, it's actually almost a 400% return.
Right. So
370 to 1775.
Right.
And now actually, so I just wanted to take a look at where the options are right now because that's kind of funny. I got out early. We talked about how I took my profit here. What I wanted to do because that was basically my trade, and then I was waiting to see what happened, and I didn't enter any of the trades to take this next piece as what my next move was, what I thought it was going to be. And if we take a look at the at the chart, we can see today that it did move up there, and it just missed my the target that I've had in now for a couple weeks by about a day. So that was a pretty good call on that. But if we take a look at the option prices, I got at 1775 for that 470. That 470 call is now worth 42.
$42. So it's still, it's
And that was at 370 when I purchased it at the beginning of last week.
So
almost 1,000% gain.
Yeah, that's the 1,000% gain a week. That's the beauty of the potential of going long calls or long puts on a directional bias. So
you got to have the correct, right? Like the whole reason these all turned out is because I got the move and it did it as I thought it would. If it gone wrong and come down here, none of these would be worth anything else, worth half or whatever, right? It'd be a different story, but it did do exactly what I was hoping for, and I got the trade.
Yeah,
and it was because it did it so quickly is why those options, I believe, got such a good gain on them.
Oh, exactly, and stay on this screen for a second. So exactly what he just mentioned is because he got his move very quickly, and if you were trying to choose a strategy on CMG, and we did last week, we talked about this last week. Andrew told me, he's like, I'm going long on CMG. It's showing me bullish, whatever technical indications, and based on his technical analysis, he wanted to go long in Chipotle, and the best way at the time that we were looking for a relatively maybe large and fast move, and the best way to take advantage of a large and fast move, fast meaning it happens very quickly, is long calls. And long calls and long puts. If you're gonna make a trade and you're trying to time it perfectly, and you believe you can time it perfectly, and you want to take full advantage of timing a trade perfectly and getting a fast, aggressive move, you can't beat long calls. I'm kind of surprised at how perfectly this trade went. He missed it by one day, but if you look at this bounce, I wouldn't even say I would say it's still perfectly timed. This
for me as a way that I count percentages and these things get hit, this falls out in an 80% category. 90% of the time I can get it within 80% of the time I can get it within one day. 90% of the time or 80% of the time I get it within one day. If you give me that this isn't a hit, but it's close enough to count as a hit.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty close. This little
90%
bullseye
of the time the market comes into that
this little bullseye here that I'm showing you
You
here.
can see this is one I had done. This is weeks ago when I was first watching this, and it's probably one of our very first videos too that we waited to see if this would get a pop up, because we were watching to see if we get a lift off this a few weeks ago, and we get a lift, and it just didn't quite make it there, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Right? So you can give me that or not, whatever you want, because it's not perfectly in the target, so maybe that's a miss for your eyes, but it's pretty close. The market lifted up to that area. And then this one today, we missed it by a day. And I picked these with technical confluence. They're not random targets. There's reasons I picked these.
Right.
And that the market can go to them should tell viewers something about the market if I'm able to do that at any degree of accuracy.
Right. I mean, even though you're even within the vicinity, I mean, these are still great targets, right? So if you look back on our video like a week ago, we were looking at these charts, and he drew these bullseyes in these targets here, last week, and to look at them today and have them be missed by one day here, and then just a couple few points here. I mean, that's pretty interesting. That to me that's like, wow, if you can do this kind of stuff with technical analysis, why not take some shots? I wish I was trading long calls and this in my real account, because I hardly ever see moves like this, and I never catch them myself. So, I mean, if technical analysis helps me catch moves like this, I mean, it would be fun to try to trade these sometimes, because I wish, this is the kind of move you need, to be honest. If you want to trade successfully to the long call and long put side, these are the best kinds of moves, because you don't have theta decay going against you. And that's why if I were to say, looking back, on hindsight, these were the best trades that you could have taken on this, because of the move, how fast it was, and how dramatic it was. And
Sure.
so, and we showed that. So maybe are you done with your so
I
what
think so, yeah. Did you want to talk a little bit yourself with them?
yeah, I guess my question is for you, what now?
Okay, yeah, sure. Sorry. If we look at this, this is the long-term weekly that I was talking about here before the bounce that we were watching off. And if you take a look at these green lines here, and I'm going to make them a little bit bigger for everybody to see. You note that it also comes over. This is the daily, so they also, and this is the weekly here.
Are those
Normally,
the Fibonacci retracements?
yeah, these are Fibonacci retracements, and so normally we look for a Fibonacci retracement for the market after a bounce, and so we've had a huge lift, and so the first of the 20, this is the 23%, it hit there. That was where the first initial lift was. The bounce was almost exactly at that, and so now the next lift I'm looking for is for a move to the 38%, and that's at about 537. So that's my next target. I don't know. This has got a lot of legs in it, but
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, remember I said that this first move here, I was looking for an exact duplicate here. Well, that's now happened.
Right.
That's that lift, that point lift and this point lift are pretty much exact same move. This took longer time, took 5 days. This only took 3, but ultimately the same amount of points were moved. So to me this is almost complete, and anything after this will be an extension. Now that doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. It's just that's how I'm viewing it. So I need to watch and see if this builds or keeps and blows through.
Do you have another target?
Yeah, well, I do. Sorry, that's at the 537 level. If this keeps on lifting, my next target is the 538, 537. This next Fibonacci, that's where I expect the next resistance to come in, and to see another consolidation like this or a reversal. If that doesn't happen right here, if the end of today and tomorrow we don't see this fall off and come back, and then this is done, then I'm expecting it to lift to 530, 536. So I'm actually watching this right now to see what it does. On some of the shorter time frames, and that's what I was just going to go to show here. If we look here, this is an hourly chart. As we're coming up to that channel that I'm talking through, that we're just poking through, there's the daily target we just missed. I had an hourly target over here too that we haven't reached yet. So we'll see if this does keep going, and if it does, there's that 537, 538 Fibonacci ratio I'm looking for, or if this craps out and finds resistance and pulls back and retest some of this, because either way is a normal market movement, and at this point I honestly can't tell you what it's going to do. All I can do at this time is say that we're now in a consolidation. As you can see, the market's dropped and we're now consolidating. I can put some technical analysis around this pattern and see how it breaks, and when this pattern breaks, it'll tell me if we're going to keep going up or if we're going to keep coming down, or if we're going to come down. So I need, for my own personal trading stuff, that's what I'm watching for. But the next targets is 537 if we keep coming back, if we keep lifting up, or we look back down to some of these lower significance here, back to the lower Fibonacci at 485, and possibly even the 13 MA that's coming up here. But that's lifting too, wherever that'll come. So it's either going to be stop here and come back and retest, or it's going to keep going. And I know that's kind of not really a direct call, but it's at this point. that's how I trade, and that's why I
Right.
do it. And because I honestly say that there really isn't any way that you can say with any certainty what the direction is going to be on this. I can, however, like I said, I can put some technicals around this, and when these technicals break, um, sorry, when these technicals break, I can then trade, say that these are my trigger signals, knowing that when either of these technicals break, the market's either going to lift up this way or it's going to drop down this way. I don't know which one it's going to be until this actually breaks. But when it does break, I can then trade it down to either this one or up to this one.
So is it fair to say that you waited for CMG to make some kind of confirmation move last week? You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You made the trade, and then you got out, and you got out early. But that's that's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
got out
that.
really early. In hindsight, I mean, right, I could have made a lot more
Yeah,
on that
sure,
trade. However,
sure.
that the actual trade itself, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a 400%
No,
trade that I did.
I mean I think that would this would go down in the books as a pretty one of the most successful trades I've ever done if I ever tried to trade long calls. But now the question is, so you're in your strategy, the way you trade is like you don't just get back in, you wait for another confirmation, correct?
Yeah, because this is going to consolidate or so, unless it's got a lot of strength and a lot of legs, it just keeps pushing forward. And then I'll see that again, as I said, tomorrow it'll break up through this. And if it does do that, then that'll tell me that this is continuing. And there's a lot of strength to show that that's exactly what's going to happen.
See,
And we can expect that, but I don't know with certainty. I can
and
expect that. And I can have a bias, but I don't know.
And I think I like that approach because you're basically you got out early and you're not getting back in because you missed it. You're not a lot of people might say, "Oh my God, I'm going to get back in because this thing keeps going." But you're not going to do that because that's not how you trade. You're basically
Yeah,
going to wait until
when
you
I got out,
find confirmation.
when I got out over here, and this is the end of trade two. If we look back over here, if I got out, that was the Friday. If I got out when I got out there and had waited, this if you can see what I'm talking about here, that we now have a consolidation through this move over here, that we had some sideways and some
Mhm.
consolidation going on. So that would have again bound it like I'm talking about over here, and then it broke the top, and that would have been my next trade, and I could have traded that to the next target, which is what I had in level with this. I didn't do that. I wasn't watching close enough. I'm
You
not
weren't
trading this like
right.
that, but that
Could
would
have
have been
been
the opportunity
right,
because I did get out here. Then I waited for the consolidation,
and
and
then
then it did
yeah,
a nice break, and
right.
so I would have folded. And that's what I'm talking about here. It's doing a consolidation, and then it's going to break. And I think the bias is up, but I don't know with certainty.
He,
It
he,
could break down,
here's
but
an,
either way, I can take it.
and here's another thing I want to point out over on this. See, Andrew just mentioned that he could have taken another trade when it broke this upper channel here. And
Yep,
but here's the thing, right? He this happens so quickly that if you're going to trade long calls and long puts, you have to be there pretty much at the right moment
legit.
to get in, right? If you're going to try to time the market, you better be there at all times to get the
Exactly.
perfect because that's why it's not for everybody. But if this is the way you want to trade, it's a very intriguing way to me that if you have the ability to be there and watch something tick by tick and you're trying to basically capture every single movement down to the second minute. This is the kind of way you can make money trading long calls if you can really do this successfully. But for me, I'm not always watching the stock, and I
Exactly.
can't be there. So that's why we're showing you ways of different ways of trading a stock based on your personal ability to trade and your kind of lifestyle and your actually time commitment and things like that. So this is kind of intriguing to me, but I probably would have missed most of those moves because I wasn't around, So,
Sure.
um,
Exactly.
but if you're gonna try, I think this is the way you should do it. If you're gonna try to time the market and time these moves, because you have to be there if you're gonna take a long call shot to the upside. Um, so that's cool. So okay, so this is turning out to be an interesting, trade to follow, stock to follow over time because we're gonna look for more opportunities and see what else we can do with it. And we'll keep coming back to Chevrolet because it's definitely been an interesting one, and I think it's
Yeah, I'll
been a
see if I
really
can find some
educational one.
other trades too to throw into the mix. But I do want to
Sure.
keep following Chipotle off this lift and see, because ultimately, if we look over on the weekly, we can get a lift to the 34 MA. You know how I was talking about over here, we're watching and a lift, and this one trade is looking to the 34 MA, and now we've broken that and we've got up to the 34 MA Bollinger Band. Well, that's the daily. On the weekly, we've now come up to the 13, just as we came up to the 13 over here, and we're starting to break the 13. So I imagine we still get some kind of consolidation and play around here, support, and if we get support off the 13, then we can see it moving to the 34. Now the 34 is going to keep dropping, but again, the same way that I watch for a play from the lift of the 13 here, off to the 34 on the daily. We're going to watch for that to happen again on the weekly. And that's going to have some trade moves in it too. The other thing that I'm watching for again is that I said this week we could crap out here. Maybe we'll come up, but at some point I'm expecting that this is a whole ABC consolidation lift. There has to have some kind of pullback because this is an ABC 3 waves. Well, this is just one wave of the first lift, and so I'm looking for a B wave or a pullback and a move sideways. Once this is complete, and we don't know that this is complete yet, but we could have a whole another drop back down to test this blue. Before we lift up again. So, and that would be an ABC, the same as this is an ABC 3 wave. This is just the first wave of two, and two more to go on a larger time scale, as we can see here. So it's called a fractal inside of each other, and this is how it builds out. And you can start to see it either from the higher and go through it, depending on what you're trading. And as we just said, if you wanted to trade a longer time in a weekly time frame or a daily, even on a daily, I'm watching it pretty close. But you can take this down and do 10-minute charts, and it all works the same. It's all built inside each other like a clock. And so, sorry, I just wanted to mention that yes, this is an ABC. I have this upper target, potentially the 34, but I am looking for, after this is done, this move is just the first wave of the overall consolidation, and I would expect at some point to see another consolidation sideways or a drop down as this continues on. As I said, it doesn't move straight lines, right? In the same way that we have a 1, 2, 3 here. I'm expecting this to be 1 and 2, 3 to go on in some manner. So I mean, this is weeks ahead, but I'm just preparing you and the viewers my thinking into why I had those targets and why I said that I'm looking to, particularly if we get a reversal in here and start to come down, because the opportunity is if we do start to come down, then I could come down and retest this all the way potentially. I don't know if it will or not. I'm just saying that's a potential if we start to see this thing fall off. That'll be the next trade to watch for, 34 and then back down.
Cool. And one of the things about I also want to mention is that if you're gonna trade directional with calls and puts, then this is the kind of movement you want. You want these big moves like 4% up, 4% down, because it's hard to make money on a stock that's not moving that much with long calls, because it's just going to move up a little bit. Theta will eat away from that profit, and you need to find. So I think you actually need technical analysis to find these kind of big movers to actually give yourself a better chance to make money with long calls and puts. Otherwise, without this kind of movement, you're going to be having a tough time trying to make money with long calls with time decay working against you.
Yeah, the thing about Chipotle too, like these are really big moves. Like it's a 500. This was a $700 stock. It's now a $500 stock. So
yeah, for
it to move even 10% or whatever, that's $5 or whatever, right? So you can, and that on an option, right? $50. That's a good move.
Oh yeah, no,
that's why. So these, in comparison, like if you look at the chart, it really doesn't seem off. Like if we look at we've had some big moves and some violent moves around, but I mean, as far as it's not like crazy off, like if that makes sense. But it's obeying the technicals, but the moves, because it's the price is such a high price, the movements in is a large dollar value. So a small like 2% move is a $20 move. So a $20 move you could make money on an option play, even if it doesn't have to be. We caught a huge move here, but even back here, it doesn't look like much, but it was $20 that I caught that move, that first play. It was and 440 up to 470, 30 points.
In my opinion, anytime you have a long call that doubles, that's a pretty good move. Like if you can get a double, or if you can get 100% return on your long call in less than a week or a few days, that's an awesome capture right there. And we got 3 times, 4 times. Some of these calls are 1,000% returns, and that's a move. That tells you right there how big a move this was.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And if you're going to trade long calls and puts, this is what you have to find. This is the kind of stuff
that you
have to trade.
We saw it last week. I told you it was potential. It did pretty much what I thought. So it's not impossible. You can see these things.
Oh yeah, and then the hard part is probably. Would you agree? The hard part is probably finding these opportunities, right? Like figuring out which one is gonna take a start moving in this kind of velocity, I guess.
Yeah, it can be, once you have an understanding though of what is and what isn't. And what I mean by that is, for example, as I said, I'm going to be looking now to see if we get a lift here, and that's and if that starts to happen, that's on a weekly. So I go down to the daily, and it all kind of works like that. And the market, like if you look at the top when it came up to the top, it came off and went down to the 34, then down to the lower Bollinger Band, and then stayed on that. But those are all trades too, and now it's just doing the opposite. It's coming, it's lifting off and going. So it's back and forth, and it does the same thing continuously all the time. And so you just, yes, you got to find the opportunity, but there's so many thousands of stocks out there too that
Well, that's the
once
thing.
you understand this type of pattern and the movements, well, we'll see. We'll see as we move forward and as we do these series and stuff, and how many more of these I can find. And if I get right, maybe I just got lucky on this one. But we'll see as time goes on. I think I'll be able to find more. And that's the point of being able to find more and trying to get these trades. I was surprised. I knew I get the movement. I didn't know I'd get a 400, 500% return and then 1,000 on the extra. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I want to partake in moves like that if I can get, see, what I'm showing you now is, back to our comparison. We did a couple trades on Chipotle during the time that, when Andrew decided to go long.
Do you want me to stop sharing my screen?
Oh yeah, I'm already sharing my screen now. You see it, right?
All right. Okay, yep. Thank you.
So when we went long Chipotle last week, you saw a chart on, Andrew went pretty much long on his long calls, and I did the same thing here, but we made different kinds of trades, and we wanted to compare the results. So it's pretty clear. This is a pretty clear-cut winner here. The best trade was the long call, without a doubt, because I sold a put basically right here. I sold a 420 put, and what that gave me was about $600 in premium. I sold the put at 690, about $700 in premium, and I sold it at 420, so it was below the money. So I had a little bit of room to be wrong, but Chipotle skyrocketed, and so now these are worth it went from $6.90 to about 30 cents now. So these are going to probably expire worthless. I can close them now for like a full credit. But the thing here is, I made most of my gain pretty much right around here when it made it about here, right? So I didn't really capture anything after a certain move, because when you sell puts, you're limited. Your profit is limited. So in this case, I left a lot of money on the table because Chipotle made a huge move, and I limited my profits. So, but at the same time, I also limited my not limited. I also gave myself a little bit more room on the downside to be wrong. So this would have been an interesting trade to look at if Chipotle would have actually went down from here instead of going up. If Andrew ended up being wrong, which he wasn't, he was actually right. If he was wrong, and there will be trades when he's wrong. It's
for sure.
Yeah, sure, for sure. And if it was wrong and CMG went down from here, you might see a situation where all his calls are losing a lot of money very fast, while my puts are potentially making a little bit of money. So there's a lot of interesting ways that you can see how these things turn out when you compare them, and each situation is a little bit different. And you got to look at all the variables like the stock price, the volatility, time to expiration, and all these come into play. So this has turned out to be an interesting trade to follow, because the clear winner is obviously when stocks move that large, you can't beat long calls. You just can't beat it. And maybe we'll look at another trade where the technical analysis kind of didn't work out, and then we got to flip things around and see which trade lost the least amount of money and was the safest, right? Because it will happen, and that's gonna be how you become a successful trader, is when you take advantage of the moves in the best way possible and lose as little as possible when you're wrong. So, all right, cool. That was cool. Maybe I did notice that Netflix was moving a big today again, and that's one we kind of looked at in the past as well, huh? Yeah, I think we looked at Netflix a few times too in the past, and that's starting to move. So maybe Netflix tends to be a big mover as well. So maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe Andrew and I can look at if there's an opportunity to kind of take another long shot. If the market seems to be stabilizing here, which the last 3 days has been up, you might be able to take. What I notice is when the volatility is down and markets seem stable, you can take some more shots with long calls, because some of these stocks they just keep running, and if you can catch some momentum moves like Netflix or CMG, 4%, everything's up pretty big today.
I can show you something I'm looking for that maybe you want to take in consideration, Mike. Mike,
Right now?
Just give me back the screen real quick, and then I'll give it back to you too as well.
Sure.
Um,
Go ahead.
and on that, I don't know if you have any, how much you follow your stocks and how much they do correlate to the S&P, because you were just talking about that, and that's why I want to show. This is my daily S&P. You can see this is the lifts that we've had recently, but it's coming back up to this resistance here, and this is actually has a lower low over here, so this might not make it to the same high. The point being, in the next couple of days, we can see this top out and drop off again, and get another CC. I don't know if it will or not. That's what I'm watching. But anything that's correlating with the S&P that you're trading, look to start to go short. Look for shorts if this starts to resistance to start to fall off again. Because if it does, the S&P could get another dump down like we see over here on the left. It could continue and do another one down here. And come also down to like 1700, if not 1600. There's another target down to 1600 looking for. So the point being, you were just talking about the S&P and how things are moving, and if you have a stock that's correlating, I'm just giving warning that yes, we've had a nice run, but that could end in the next couple of days this week, and next week we could see it fall off again. So just take that into consideration however you're planning your trades.
I mean, I would say I totally agree with that. In fact, I totally agree with that. And in fact, I would go even further to say, if we start going down again, almost everything's going to correlate to the downside. I mean, like the way the magnitude of the move we just had to the downside, I mean, I think everything was just going down with it. So after 3 days of moves like this, I mean, see, now's the time, probably not the best time to take some big long shots to the upside, right? It's kind of like you got to wait and see, right?
Well, that's what I was saying. It could. I mean, there's what I'm saying. The resistance that I'm seeing coming up could not happen, and it could just keep going and shoot through it. But the warning is that it's there, and everything could suddenly drop off next week really quickly.
Right, especially after
plan for that.
Especially after a 3-day move with like 2% gains, right? It's like a third day in a row.
Yep.
So.
Exactly.
So cool. All right. So we just wanted to cover Chipotle. We're going to continue to try to trade Chipotle to the upside or downside, depending on what we see in the technicals. And we're going to continue to track trades on TraderMob and show the results and compare the performances and see what we all can learn from it. Because it's kind of actually a pretty interesting learning experience for both of us as well. Since Andrew's not really he's learning to trade options, and I'm learning to do technical analysis. So we're kind of watching this together actually and see what we can both integrate into. The more you learn about different ways to trade, I think the better you are. The more tools you have in your tool set, it's kind of like the more you can actually take advantage of, the better opportunities you have. Because if you're limited to only doing one thing or one style of trading, it's going to be really hard to make money, in my opinion. I think you have to be exposed to different ways and understand how different strategies can benefit in different environments and things like that. So this is fun. So we'll check back again. We'll probably do another Chipotle update, and we'll try to find some more stocks that potentially have big moves. I imagine finding big moves to the downside might be interesting as well if things do turn around, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, Chipotle itself has got a little bit more left that could go upwise, and then it too could turn around and we can see a dump and test that bottom that we just took off. So that kind of correlates with what I'm seeing potentially in the S&P with a resistance and another drop off coming. So
I mean, we'll
see what happens.
If things move dramatically, this quickly to the upside, it can go to the downside just as easily, this fast and faster.
Exactly.
In fact, markets usually drop a lot faster than they go up. So
yes.
All right, cool. So we'll check back again and have some more updates later.
All right. Thanks.